A Japanese man kept renting an apartment where his wife was brutally killed for 26 years. Even though he had to pay a heavy rent every month, he never stopped renting it. It wasn't for memory. He had a belief. He wanted to see the killer of his wife get punished with his own eyes. This long wait lasted for a quarter of a century. After 26 years, in October 2025, when he was 69 years old, he finally got a call from the police, and the killer was someone he never expected. Hey guys, I'm Grapefruit Head. Today we're gonna talk about this crazy story. On July 7, 1995, 39-year-old Takaba married Namiko, 11 years younger than him. With the blessings of relatives and friends, Takaba smiled happily. 2 years after they got married, their son was born. Namiko quit her job and became a full-time housewife. She took very good care of her son. She even prepared a diary to write down the joys and worries of being a mother and the surprises from her child's growth. She carefully recorded every precious moment of her child's growth. Namiko once said, "These were the happiest days of her life." She thought such beautiful days would last forever, but reality can be so cruel. In November 1999, everything still seemed perfect. Namiko's son had just celebrated his second birthday, healthy and adorable. Her husband had a stable career and had just bought a new car. The couple had even found a big apartment they loved and planned to move into it after their lease ended. November 13, 1999, an ordinary Saturday afternoon, Takaba, who worked in real estate, was still at the office. Around 2:30 p.m., their landlady stopped by with some specimens. She noticed the door was slightly open. Pushing it wider, her heart sank at the sight of blood in the entryway. 32-year-old Namiko lay lifeless in a pool of blood in the living room. At the crime scene, police carefully examined the area and found several key clues. Namiko was lying on her side, face turned to the right, already dead. A large pool of blood had formed under her chest. The sight was shocking and terrifying. Splatters of blood were scattered around the area. The attacker first stabbed Namiko in the entrance, then chased her into the inner room and continued stabbing her. From the apartment entrance all the way inside, there were many traces of the criminal's blood. The blood wasn't flowing continuously. Instead, it appeared in drops here and there. This suggests that during the struggle with Namiko, the attacker likely injured his hand, and the wound kept bleeding as he fled. The blood trail continued outside the apartment, stretching about 500 meters toward the northeast. This gave police a clear path to follow the suspect's escape route. On the ground near the scene and around the apartment, on dusty or soiled surface, police also found clear footprints left by the criminal. Based on the size, they estimated the suspect's shoe size was around 24 centimeters. A witness who happened to be passing by told police they saw a woman hurriedly running down the stairs of the apartment building, holding her hand or wrist as if injured. She looked panicked. Putting together the evidence and the witness statement, police have a rough profile of the suspect. A woman around 160 centimeters tall, blood type B, age between 40 and 50, with an injured hand at the time of the crime. This initial suspect sketch became a key reference for the police's large-scale investigation. However, DNA testing in the 1990s wasn't very accurate, and no suspects with conflicts against the victim's family were found. The search was too broad with no clear focus, so the police couldn't solve the case for a long time. No one expected the real criminal behind this sketch to be so deeply hidden. It took a full 26 years to crack the case. After his wife Namiko was tragically murdered, Takaba made a touching decision. to keep the apartment where it happened exactly as it was. He moved to another place but continued paying rent for that apartment, doing so for 26 years, totaling over 22 million yen, or around $142,000. His reason was simple but firm. Once the criminal is caught, I want her to come back here and see with her own eyes what she did. Inside the apartment, Namiko's cooking books, toys belonging to their 2-year-old son at the time, and even the bloodstains and footprints left by the killer, remained untouched, as if time had stopped that day. Takaba never stopped searching for clues. Every year on November 13th, he would speak to the public through the media, asking anyone with even the smallest piece of information to come forward. Her persistence gained media support, and over 10,000 posters with the suspect's sketch were put up nationwide. But after the killer was finally caught, Takaba admitted that the official sketch looked nothing like the real criminal. At the time of the crime, Japan's statute of limitations for murder was only 15 years. The murder happened in 1999, so if the law hadn't changed, the case would have expired in 2014, making it impossible to prosecute. For Takaba, that would have meant his wife's killer would never face justice. This feeling of despair led him to join Soranaka, a group made up of family members of murder victims, and he became one of the key representatives. Their demand was clear: extend or even abolish the statute of limitations for murder. The victim's family didn't want the time limit to become a get-out-of-jail-free card for the killers. If even the law gives up, what hope is left for them? Thanks to their persistent efforts, in 2010, Japan's parliament passed a law extending the statute of limitation from 15 to 25 years. This change bought crucial time for Takaba's case. Without it, the investigation would have ended in 2014, when the original time limit ran out. Even more importantly, this legal revision brought hope to unsolved cases across the country. In 2013, Mie Prefecture Police made the first post-time limit arrest under the new law, apprehending a suspect in a 1997 case. While waiting for justice, Takaba also had to raise his 2-year-old son on his own. To make matters harder, he rented the apartment where the crime happened. Adding to his financial strain, he relied on his parents and sister to help care for his son. Despite his deep grief, he tried hard to stay strong in front of his son, avoiding showing any weakness, hoping to create a happier environment for him. He even brought his son along when handing out flyers, asking the public for more information about the case.
お父さんが持ってたんで、はい、なんかくれました。すごい少しずつ僕の成長をなんか日記に書いてくれたんで、まあ優しい人だな。
In 2022, Japanese police launched a cold case initiative, making Takaba's case a top priority. They reviewed over 5,000 people connected to the case and narrowed it down to several hundred for DNA testing. This past August, police asked Kumi Yashifuki to provide the DNA sample voluntarily, but she refused. It wasn't until October 30th that she finally agreed. Surprisingly, just hours later, she turned herself in. Tests confirmed that the blood found at the scene matched her DNA perfectly. After confessing, Kumi said, "When the police came in August, I was already prepared to be arrested. I feel deeply sorry for the victim." When Takaba was told that Kumi was the killer, he immediately remembered her, but found it hard to believe. In his memory, she was gentle and quiet, not the type to do something like this. The investigation revealed a special connection between them. In high school, they were in the same tennis club. She once gave him chocolate on Valentine's Day and confessed her feelings to him face to face. Even they went to different college, She visited him at his university and pulled him into a cafe, where she cried in front of him, but he gently turned her down. 5 months before the crime, they met again at a tennis club reunion. She shared updates about her life. She was married, working, and managing her household. Takaba said she seemed to be working hard and had become much more cheerful compared to high school. He thought, she's doing well, and simply assumed she was happy, so he just offered a few casual words of encouragement. But who would have thought just 5 months later, she ended up killing Takaba's wife. When Kumi was arrested, she was already 69 years old. For 26 years, she hadn't gotten any facial plastic surgery or tried to disguise herself. Her neighbors said she rarely took part in local events, probably to avoid drawing public attention. After her arrest, she used her right to remain silent and refused to answer the police questions, including her motive for the crime. Maybe we'll only learn more about why she did it during the trial. Takaba repeatedly insisted she doesn't seem like the kind of person who would kill. But the facts are right in front of us, and it's truly heartbreaking. This unsolved case once had a reward of 3 million yen for any leads, and it was finally solved through DNA technology. After the suspect was arrested, those wanted posters that had been placed in 10,000 locations across the country were finally taken down. Unfortunately, the sketch of the criminal on the posters looks nothing like her. At the time of the crime, Kumi lived in an apartment 10 kilometers away from the scene. Over the years, she lived with her husband and children, but never mentioned the murder to her family. Just as the police suspected, Kumi admitted she injured her hand during the crime, but said she didn't want to involve her family, which is why she resisted arrest for so long. She said, "For 26 years, I felt uneasy every day, too scared to watch the news about the incident. Every year when the anniversary of the crime approached, I would get anxious." This case, which took 26 years from the crime to arrest, has finally been solved. But for the survivors, the pain will never fully heal. Takaba made it clear that he will keep the apartment where the crime happened until laws are established for the use of genetic information in criminal investigations. This decision comes from his deep understanding of the investigation process. It was advances in DNA technology that ultimately identified the real culprit. However, Japan still has legal restrictions on the use of DNA information in criminal investigations. Because of this, Takaba plans to actively push for the legalization of DNA information in criminal investigations. He hopes that by improving the relevant laws, DNA technology can be more widely and effectively used in criminal cases, helping more families like his who are affected by unsolved cases, so their justice will no longer be delayed.
僕らも頑張って時効撤廃しました。
はい。
だから次は DNA と言ってますけど、
As for their son, who was only 2 years old at the time, he is now 28 and married the daughter of a friend of Namiko last year. He sincerely said, "I hope my mother can rest in peace. If my mother could see me now, I think she would smile."
少しでも安らかに眠ってもらえたらなと